Allah Muranjan. For today's video, I ran across a book that I just read in the 2000s, early 2000s. It was a book by Castaneda. He was the author of the New Age movement of the 70s or 60s. And he wrote about Don Juan, the magician, who the name of the book was The Journey to Ixtlan. And I liked the book because I was getting into drugs at that time, psychedelics, and I was always into mystery and horror and supernatural stuff. So this was like the perfect book for me to read. I'm going to try to do that today. The Journey to Ixtlan, The Lessons of Don Juan, by Carlos Castaneda, published by Rocket Books, New York. This release was published by Simon and Schuster in 1972, but this pocketbook edition published in October of 74, and the fourth printing was done in October 74. Introduction, I'll begin in a minute, but Part 1 starts with Stopping the World. The title of Part 1 is Stopping the World. Part 2 is Journey to Ixtlan. The last 30 pages or so. Alright. Introduction. Page 7th of the intro pages. Not the actual pages. Introduction. On Saturday, May 22nd, 1971, I went to Sonora, Mexico to see Don Juan Matos. Don Juan Matos, a Yaqui Indian sorcerer, with whom I had been associated since 1961. It's about a decade after. He goes to visit him in Mexico. I thought that my visit on that day was going to be in no way different from the scores of times I had gone to see him in the 10 years I had been his apprentice. The events that took place on that day and on the following days, however, were momentous to me. So the reason I'm reading this book is because it was momentous to me. I just want to know what ideas I downloaded in my sleep. And also, I want to practice my book reading skills, because I've been doing this for a year now plus. So I thought an important skill for a teacher to have is to be able to read a story. Even though it's written by somebody else, I think I can work on my skills with this book. So the finished last sentence of the paragraph is after the second last sentence. He's talking about these momentous events that happen. On that occasion, my apprenticeship came to an end. This was not an arbitrary withdrawal on my part, but a bona fide termination. So I guess he got fired this day, on May 22nd, 1971, and the following days, which ended with a bona fide termination. I have already presented the case of my apprenticeship in 2 previous works, The Teachings of Don Juan and A Separate Reality. This is the third of his books, where he talks more about his apprenticeship with Don Juan. He mentions that his basic assumption in both these books has been that the articulation points in learning to be a sorcerer were the states of non-ordinary reality produced by the ingestion of psychotropic plants. What he means is that by being high in altered consciousness, he thinks he can articulate how to be a sorcerer. Because Don Juan, in this respect, psychotropic plants and non-ordinary reality produced by their ingestion, Don Juan was an expert in the use of 3 such plants: Datura inoxia, commonly known as Jimson weed; Lophophora williamsi, known as peyote. Lophophora williamsi. Peyote. El Rocho. Super Rocho. Or some Super Chino. Cosmic OG. That's what I'll be smoking on. But Don Juan also knew about the hallucinogenic mushroom of the genus psilocybe. So he knew about the shrooms, the peyote, and the Jimson weed. My perception of the world through the effects of those psychotropics had been so bizarre and impressive that I was forced to assume that such states were the only avenue to communicating and learning what Don Juan was attempting to teach me. This assumption was erroneous. For the purpose of avoiding any misunderstandings about my work with Don Juan, I would like to clarify the following issues at this point. So far, I have made no attempt whatsoever to place Don Juan in a cultural milieu. The fact that he considers himself to be a Yaqui Indian does not mean that his knowledge of sorcery is known to or practiced by the Yaqui Indians in general. That's an important point on page 8, that this drug addict, or budding drug addict, called Carlos Castaneda, was not really aware of the deeper philosophy behind the experiences that he was engaging in. He didn't know about the Yaqui Indians and their practices of sorcery. So now he, in this book, hopefully, gets deeper into that knowledge. I think that's a good point to stop this video. I've already started the introduction. I gotta take a shit. I guess I can continue reading it in the bathroom. Why not? I got a spliff. And I got a bathroom to finish it, The roach. I mean. I'm smoking the roach. Like a criminal. Like a criminal. It's like a criminal. Criminal now. The original. Oh, man. Let's continue reading. All the conversations that Don Juan and I have had throughout the apprenticeship were conducted in Spanish, and only because of his thorough command of this language was I able of obtaining complex explanations of his belief systems or system of beliefs. I've maintained my practice. So cultural milieu, conversations, apprenticeship, Spanish, belief systems. I have maintained the practice of referring to that system as sorcery, and I have also maintained the practice of referring to Don Juan as a sorcerer, because these were categories he himself used. Since I was capable of writing down most of what he said in the beginning of the apprenticeship, and everything that was said in the latter phases of it, I gathered voluminous field notes in order to render those notes readable and still preserve the dramatic unity of Don Juan's teachings. I have had to edit them, but what I have deleted is, I believe, immaterial to the points I want to raise. So here we find out that these notes that in this book are incomplete, and they just give us an idea into a deeper world of the psychedelic cultural people called the Yaqui Indians. In the case of my work with Don Juan, I have limited my efforts solely to viewing him as sorcerer and to acquiring membership in his knowledge. Membership knowledge. Acquiring. And viewing him as sorcerer. These are his assumptions again. For the purpose of presenting my argument, I must first explain the basic premise of sorcery
as Don Juan presented it to me. So I didn't get my master's degree because I didn't present my argument. I was afraid to do my thesis because I felt I hadn't done enough focus. I just kind of did the work as a robot without thinking about it. So it's important for him to state his arguments, because Don Juan said that for a sorcerer, the world of everyday life is not real or out there, as we believe it is. For a sorcerer, reality of the world, as we all know, is only a description. The world is just an idea, or reality is just an idea, and there's other ideas or alternate realities. For the sake of validating these premises, Don Juan rated R8D 100 con. For the sake of validating this premise, Don Juan concentrated the best of his efforts into leading me to a genuine conviction that what I held in mind as the world at hand was merely a description of the world, a description that had been pounded into me from the moment I was born. He pointed out that everyone who comes into contact with a child is a teacher who incessantly describes the world to him until the moment when the child is capable of perceiving the world as it is described. And this is page 9. According to Don Juan, we have no memory of that portentous moment simply because none of us could possibly have had any point of reference to compare it to anything else. From that moment on, however, the child is a member. He knows the description of the world, and his membership becomes full-fledged. I suppose when he is capable of making all the proper perceptual interpretations which, by conforming to that description, validate it. Holding up. Look. For Don Juan, then, the reality of our day-to-day life consists of an endless flow of perceptual interpretations, which we, the individuals who share a specific membership, have learned to make in common. The idea that the perceptual interpretations that make up the world have a flow is congruous and so forth. That's page 9. I'm going to continue next time.